Welcome back, everyone. Dustin here again, Average Guy Hi-Fi, with another kind of long overdue video here. Those of you that follow the channel will recognize this piece sitting next to me. I've owned it for about 10 months now, but it is a Monoprice Monolith 5-channel amplifier. So if you've been following along, you'll realize or remember that this is what I replaced my Marantz 7055 with. The Marantz wasn't rated at 4 ohms, even though people said it was a 4 ohm. It would handle 4 ohm speakers, and it was only 2 channels driven power ratings. Those type of things bug me a little bit, especially when you're kind of trying to future-proof yourself if you're going to get a bigger room. I just wanted a little bit of extra heft, plus the right deal came up. And as you guys know, I'm using my money for this stuff. It'd be nice if people just sent me things, but I'm purchasing this type of equipment with my money, and this was one of the pieces that I was kind of, again, trying to future-proof myself with. So Monolith really came out swinging when they came out with this line of amplifiers. I've been a big Monoprice fan over the years. I bought lots of cables from them. I always think they have a good kind of price per value. You can really stretch your money there, especially when it comes to their HDMI cables and their speaker wires and things like that. But they dipped their toes into the amplifier arena, and they did it in a big way. They contracted with ATI, which the rumors are that ATI makes these amplifiers for Monolith or Monoprice, and they're assembled in the USA. So this one right here is the 5-channel amplifier. They make a 2-channel, they make a 3-channel, a 7-channel, a 9-channel, and 11-channel, plus obviously this 5-channel here. So it comes with a 5-year warranty. This one has a RMS rating of 200 watts times 5, so all channels driven into 8 ohms, which is, again, really something I like. It has a MSRP of $15.99, and one of you subscribers out there, I'll have to go back and see who did this, but throughout 10 months ago they said, hey, Dustin, they got a refurb on the Monolith 5-channel amplifier, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to jump right on that. So I ended up grabbing this amplifier for $1,099. Now, again, this was 10 months ago, so there has been some price increases, as we all know. Hopefully not too many of you are feeling it too harshly, but I think when I was shopping for this amplifier, it was about $13.99, so it's gone up a little bit. This version here, unfortunately, because it was the refurb, I didn't have the option, but it doesn't come with the XLR, so it's just RCA. But if you go shopping on their website now, all the amps are coming out with the XLR. So not a big deal for me. I usually have you guys see the way I have my equipment run. It's just right next to each other, so short run RCAs to the pre-outs on my Lexicon RV6. That's how I have it set up. So it's a nice looking amplifier. It's got a really heavy cabinet to it. This thing weighs about 78 pounds. It's about 17 inches wide this direction, has kind of a cambered front edge to it. Really nice look. It has a little blue light down here. No fancy lights or anything like that on there. You can't turn that light off, unfortunately. Like the Emotiva, you can switch the lights off on it. It's 17 inches wide, and they say 16 and a half inches deep, but I just measured with the binding posts that are back here. It looks like it's more like 17 inches deep, and then by the time you add in banana plugs, if you plug those in, just so you guys can kind of plan ahead, it's more like 18 inches is how much you need from front to back, because they definitely add some depth there. So it has the 5 RCAs, and then it has a trigger, and then it has a ground, power switch, and then that's where the plug goes, and then obviously the 5 positive and negative binding posts across the back. Pretty simple, but the nice thing about this compared to some of the other amps I have over the years, it has it's kind of got an extra venting system in there. So it's passive cooling. There's no fans or anything like that to add more noise to your system. And they did a really good job of making sure there's plenty of room to have airflow. I have that AC Infinity T10 fan sitting on top of it and my Lexicon RV6. Again, probably overkill. People out there will tell you that it's snake oil, those coolers, but I like keeping kind of expensive. Again, I'm buying this stuff with my money. I'm planning on keeping it for a while, so I like having that additional kind of thought of having cooling on top. But with this system, as long as you have, with the way that they have this grid set up and the cooling, ATI makes very high quality, well thought out amplifiers, probably won't have any issues. I wouldn't put anything on top of it. That's the whole point of this system, is to make sure that airflow is getting into it to keep the components, because heat kills electronics. So it's class AB, so it's heavy, weighs about 78 pounds. I'm a little bit red in the face from lifting this thing out of the rack and setting it up here. But other than that, those are kind of the specs of it. It's a really nice, well-built amp. So in this video, the second part, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background on amplifiers I've owned over the years, and then my impressions on this. I'm not going to do the average guy hi-fi score because it just doesn't feel like that's the right way to do it. I'd rather just kind of say, hey, this is my impressions of owning this compared to the other amplifiers I've owned over the years. So we'll just jump right into it. Stay tuned for the second part. Okay, just to give you guys a little bit of background, again, I've been doing this for 20 years, using my money, purchasing equipment, testing it out. I'm really a gearhead. Ultimately, that's what it is. Sometimes it's like setting it up and tweaking it and holding it and messing with it is as much fun for me as it is actually listening to it. I know I'm not alone because I read the forums and there's other people out there like you, and I think that's the reason this channel actually works. So, being in this hobby for 20 years, I've had receivers, receivers with amplifiers. I've had a processor with amplifiers. I've kind of gone through all the different stages of it and kind of just the progression. Right now, I'm just using a receiver. It's a nice receiver, that Lexicon RV6 with an amplifier, and my room's small. It's about 12 by 15, so my speakers are relatively close. They don't need a lot of power, but I like the overkill. And if you look at the videos and talk to the people out there with their crazy systems with 18-inch subwoofers and all that type of stuff. Overkill is good in this hobby, and a lot of people kind of get wrapped up to it. I'm trying to future-proof myself, like I've previously mentioned, just for an upcoming home theater. If I can afford to buy a house with a dedicated room, I'm going to build it the way I want when it comes to home theater equipment because I like home theater. So that's kind of the plan. Buy the stuff now. I'll have to replace that Lexicon, I'm sure, as technology keeps progressing. But right now, I'm super happy. This is overkill for this space. But again, I wanted you guys to have a nice, clean power source for all the reviews. That way, it's consistent across the board when I'm measuring 4-ohm speakers, 8-ohm speakers, Polks, Definitive Technologies, Martin Logans. I want them all to have a nice, clean shot at it, at giving you guys my impressions. So that was the reason I kind of purchased this thing. Plus, since I can't afford ATI amplifiers, the fact that this was made by ATI with a 5-year warranty and all that stuff at $1,099, it was a no-brainer for me. Even at $1,599 for the newest version of this with the XLR, that's still a very good deal. So my amplifier history has been, I've had receivers where I went out and added an amplifier to that receiver, never noticed a difference. Now this depends on your room size, how loud you listen, the speakers, how efficient they are, a number of different things. But there's also been times where I had a really nice receiver, added a power amplifier, and it just made a big difference. The dynamics in the speakers got better. It took some of the strain off of the receiver. There's a lot of benefits to kind of doing it. And again, if you're into the overkill like I am, then it's just like just add an amp. Because this thing right here, unlike a processor or a receiver, this will be kind of future-proof. As long as it continues to fully function, you can always just add a new receiver to this that has 8K or HDMI 2.1, or you can add a processor to it, and those will come and go, but this will remain consistent. Now, you might add more if you start adding speakers, but just to kind of give you an idea, it's a nice base to have if you're into home audio and you have a little bit demanding speakers, this could be adding an amplifier to your system, gives you a little bit more consistency. The quality of this amplifier was every bit what I was expecting, I would say. I've owned probably 10 Emotiva amplifiers. All of them, I've still got a couple back there. I've got one in my office. I've got another one sitting out there. That's another brand that I just love. And I think that when Monoprice came out with this line of amplifiers and kind of contracted with ATI, I think they just nailed it. They came in at a good price point. It's going to be competitive Emotiva. That's people kind of look down on Emotiva on the forum sometimes. Comes to their sometimes have people. I'm not going to call them out because I like the company, and I think that they've really kind of allowed people that don't have huge budgets to get into the dedicated amplifier arena, which a lot of times it wasn't. You didn't have very many options. It was like Outlaw, which I really like as well. Emotiva, those were kind of the only game in town if you were looking under $2,000 for a 5-channel amplifier, or they have different versions, but that was kind of like, wow, you could really get into the 5-channel XPA back in the day, $1,000. That was like amazing when that came out, because there's other brands that I've owned like Parasound and again, Outlaw Audio. I've owned Proceed, which is a really expensive amplifier. I've owned Monster amplifiers. I've owned Adcom, Rotels, 20 years of me doing this. So a lot of experience with amplifiers. Kind of what I've noticed is that there's not a huge difference in sound signatures. I know that's going to be upset some people out there, but I think that this one sounds every bit as good as like the more expensive amplifiers. I guess that's my point. You can hook it up, and I think one of these days I would like to, if this channel gets big enough, I'd like to have a little office where I rent and I just do blind testing for people of amplifiers and speakers, and see if I can surprise people with the really expensive stuff that believe that they need to spend that much, or something like this. Put this back there and compare it to a $5,000 amp and see if you can actually tell the difference. So that's kind of the stuff, again, that I'm into. I'm a gearhead, so I like that idea of being able to save money but still getting kind of maximum performance. And that's why I think people kind of follow this channel, is just trying to help people save money. I guess to answer your, like, the main question is, like, would I buy this again? That seems to be, as a consumer, when you're shelling out your own cash, 100% I would buy this again. And these refurb sales, they still pop up. I wasn't like a 1 in a million. They have those sales, or there's basically there's like a scratch and dent type things. This one came out perfect. I don't know if maybe it was a part that failed and they just replaced it and sold it to me, but the cabinet was amazing. The shipping was very fast. The packaging was very high quality. The amp itself is built very good. So this is just one of those purchases that just went very smoothly for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. So I was a little bit hesitant to unhook it and bring it over here to review it, because then I have to go back over there and hook it all back up and everything like that. And I've been kind of running without it for a couple weeks now, and I just really, really have enjoyed my time with it. So I'm excited to get this thing back over there and hook back up again. So I guess my overall advice would be just do your research when it comes to amplifiers. You can spend more money, and I'm not saying don't do that, but you could also spend a little bit less money and get something like this compared to like a Rotel, which I'm a huge fan of as well, but almost double the price with some of the 5-channel amplifiers compared to this one, or more. They go way up from there. There's $20,000 amplifiers pretty easy that you could spend money on. But there's brands like this that are making it a little bit more accessible for people to get kind of audiophile quality sound. And some people out there will tell you that a $20,000 amp is 100% going to sound better than a $2,000 amp or a $1,000 amp. And I'm more on the board of like, well, let's test it out. I would like to go to your house, let's hook this thing up compared to your really expensive amplifier and see if we can actually tell the dynamics. I've owned very expensive amplifiers. I've owned kind of some entry-level amplifiers, and for my ears, I guess maybe I'm not as critical of a listener as some people out there, but this is going to get you 98% there, I would say. But again, it kind of should go with the flow of things. You don't want to hook a $1,000 amplifier up to $20,000 speakers. So the way that I would build my system would be, everything would kind of be in line price point wise. But the good news is, for you people out there amp shopping, you have brands like this, you have brands like Outlaw, you have brands like Emotiva that have very high value. Contact Monoprice. This is a really good deal. I'm not getting paid or anything like that. Again, I'm using my own money for these things, but rest assured, if you buy a Monoprice amplifier, Monolith version, definitely you're going to be getting a high quality product at a very good price. That's kind of the easiest way that I can describe it. I'm actually considering, because my experience has been so good with this amplifier, I'm considering that new ported 13-inch subwoofer that just came out. So, it's just more money. I got to use my money for this stuff. So I'm trying to talk myself into it. That Velodyne DD12 BG is out there just thumping away. I've been super happy with it, but now I got to kind of move on. So that might be my next subwoofer. Anyway, that's kind of my rundown. Very impressed with this product. Always been impressed with Monoprice cables and all that stuff. I think they have a very high value there, and working with ATI on this, I think, was a very smart deal, as long as everybody's making a little bit of profit. But it kind of finally allows people like me to be able to kind of get my hands on something that was made by ATI that doesn't cost $4,000. So again, if this is the type of content that you guys are into, please subscribe to my channel, ask me questions. I do have a Facebook page that I just haven't been monitoring at all, but I'm getting all these likes, so I'm going to, if I can ask your guys' help, and maybe, I think if we use that as like a little bit of a heads up for people, if you see good deals, I'm going to start posting deals on there every once in a while when they pop up, and then if you guys do the same, maybe we can use that as like a little bit of an area for people to go and find good deals on audio products, or if you're in the local market, snap good deals that you're seeing that you're not going to buy, so other people might have a chance to go snag it. I think that's how we'll kind of move this thing. Let's help people save money, but let's also have a good time in this hobby and ask each other questions and get actual opinions from people that are using their money to purchase this stuff. So again, my name is Dustin, and the name of the channel is Average Guy Hi-Fi. Help me spread the word. It's really working out well. We're almost to 7,000 subscribers, and I've been kind of absentee a little bit of the past few months, but I'm promised to start ramping things back up again. So thanks again for stopping by.